Welcome back again, this time to the second edition of the WrestleCord News Break. This is your host Ryan here to give you all the lowdown on the news in wrestling today. Pretty slow news cycle today, but just a few things I want to touch on. We had the Raw after WrestleMania last night. It was a pretty underwhelming card, I would say the least. And I think a lot of the fans in the arena were definitely feeling some of that. Very low on matchups. A lot of promos. We had CM Punk talking. We had Cody Rhodes sort of teasing a possible feud between those two in the coming months. We also had the new WWE World Champion in Roman Reigns coming out, getting met by the Bloodline and getting challenged by Jacob Fatu. And Roman didn't exactly accept the challenge. He told Jacob that he had a week to think about whether he really wants to do this. And I think it's interesting that Roman didn't want to give an answer, but then he's telling Fatu that he has things to think about. It seems like it should be the other way. Roman Reigns has things to think about, which is why he hasn't agreed to this matchup yet. But nonetheless, that was sort of how we spent the early part of Raw there. We also had some debuts. We had Ethan Page coming up. We had the Street Profits coming back. We had Sol Ruca coming up from NXT. A lot of questions with some of this. Ethan Page was just in a feud with Ricky Starks. It looks like maybe we're not getting the conclusion of that feud. I guess only time will tell. He ended up facing Javon Evans in a hard-fought match. We also had Paul Heyman coming out speaking about the Brock Lesnar retirement, seemed very choked up. Later on in commentary, they would say that that was the last match of Brock Lesnar, and he was hanging up the boots talking about his interaction with Obafemi on night till WrestleMania. Speaking of Obafemi, we had him coming out, basically doing his sort of Goldberg, you're next, this is my yard type of promo, pretty much one phrase, and he's gone. I don't really think this was the smartest way to use him right at this point in time, but that is what they chose to do. I'd really like to see some interaction between him and possibly Royce Keys if they're going to do anything with him in the near future. Of course, Royce Keys showing up at the Royal Rumble debuting and then has literally done almost nothing since then. He's had one match since. So, like I said, the Street Profits also returned. We had the Io Sky, Rhea Ripley tag team falling apart. It looks like they're going their own way on favorable terms. But certainly interesting for the women's tag division. Rhea Ripley having won the WWE Women's Championship the night before at WrestleMania, looking to keep carving her path as a single star. And then just one last piece of news I wanted to cover in this super quick news break segment is the interaction that happened between CM Punk and a fan in a hotel lobby. AJ Lee, Bailey, they were saying their goodbyes to each other. It was like, which I predicted in our earlier news break, that AJ Lee is probably taking time off. Her and Bailey sharing an embrace with a overzealous fan, sort of really up in their face with his phone, and ends up having his phone slapped away from him by CM Punk, the husband of AJ Lee. Now, this fan may have been acting like an ass, may have been overstepping his boundaries here, but you are a famous person. You are in a public space, a lobby. You should not have such high expectations for your privacy that you are attacking people, which is what that is. Slapping a phone out of someone's hand is attacking them. That is assault that could constitute battery. This is very inappropriate. Of course, we've seen this before from CM Punk. Famously punching a guy who had done literally nothing to him because he confused him for another guy in a crowd that had been pushing on the back of Punk's head, which I still think, which in itself is assault, but I think his reaction to that was overboard. Even if he had punched the fan who had done that, the fan did not punch him, and he is, of course, a trained wrestler, a trained MMA fighter, if you will, a guy who is bigger than the guy that he punched and the guy who actually had been assaulting him that he did not understand was the guy he wanted to be punching. And so we've had reports that this fan trying to stay anonymous in this hotel altercation says he just wants an apology from CM Punk. If I was CM Punk, I would apologize. like I said at the beginning of this rant, I think the fan was overzealous and in the wrong, but I don't think he was in the wrong to the point that he should be assaulted. I don't think he did anything to break the law. Well, I know he did. He was simply in a hotel lobby where there's a lot of fans and some very famous wrestlers. He was being annoying. He got maybe a bit closer than he should. But that's the interesting part. CM Punk didn't pull the guy away. No, he slapped his phone out of his hand. So if he's really concerned about the safety, sort of the spatial awareness that we're all allowed to have in a public space, then you would think that he would have pulled that fan back. It looked like he took a easy opportunity to take some of his frustrations out on this fan. And that is it, folks. That is going to wrap up our quick WrestleCord news break, and I hope you'll join me, Ryan, again next time.